You need to leave this high-rise apartment because I want my parents to live here.
What? Suddenly, Jessica told me to get out, but I couldn't understand what she meant. Get out, but this house belongs to us.
Why don't you get it? I said my parents are going to live here.
No way. No matter how many times she says it, it still doesn't make sense. I do consider Jessica, my daughter-in-law, to be my family. But that doesn't mean I can just hand over our house so easily. As I stood there dumbfounded by Jessica's words, my son Thomas continued.
Come on, it's not a big deal. David and Doris like this house. Why don't Mom and Dad live somewhere else?
I never thought my son would say such a thing. I thought I had raised him well, but he apparently didn't feel respect for his parents. I just didn't care anymore and told Thomas and Jessica. So that's how it is. All right, then, I'll gladly leave.
Finally, you understand. I'm so glad.
Now, this house is practically ours.
Thomas and Jessica hugged each other, delighted. I see. They didn't want us out for their parents' sake, they just wanted the place for themselves. Seeing them so happy made me feel both dumbfounded and angry. There's no way I'm letting them do as they please. The next day, I decided to get back at them. My name is Maria. I'm a 57-year-old housewife.
Hey, could you bring me some coffee, please?
Sure, just give me a moment. This man, busy looking over papers at his desk, is my husband, Sam. We've known each other since high school and started dating back then. After graduating, he started his own apparel company. Honestly, I didn't think he'd succeed right out of high school. But he made a huge success of it. He has since sold that company, but he continues to succeed in new ventures, and we live comfortably on the top floor of a high-rise apartment. Honey, it's almost lunchtime. Why don't you take a break?
Oh, is it that time already? Let's have lunch, then.
Living in a high-rise, one might think we eat expensive food all the time, but that's not the case. We dine out maybe once a month, and usually, it's the simple meals I cook. Once, I said to Sam, "Hey, you make a good income, why don't we eat out more often?" I was honestly tired of cooking at that time. He looked me straight in the eyes and said,
What are you talking about? There's nothing better than the food you make. I'm perfectly happy with the meals Maria cooks.
Hearing that from him made me incredibly happy. After that, we stopped going out to eat, except on anniversaries or special occasions. One day, as we were having one of our usual meals at home, my husband, Sam, asked me,
By the way, how's Thomas doing lately?
Thomas is our only son. I haven't been in touch with him recently, nor have I seen him. Hearing that made me worry. I don't know, I haven't contacted him either. He's probably doing good.
I see. I was always busy with my work and didn't give him much attention. Maybe he's avoiding me because of that.
No way, that's not true. As we finished our meal, joking around, we sat back and watched TV for a while. Then suddenly, Sam's phone rang.
Who's calling during my break? Work or? Huh?
What happened?
It's from Thomas.
We had just been talking about how we hadn't heard from him in a while. Speak of the devil.
Hey, that's great. I'll be waiting then.
He hung up the phone, seemingly happy. I guess he was glad to have talked to him after so long. I thought that was all there was to it, but it turns out I was wrong.
Get ready for a shock. Thomas is getting married.
Oh my God, really? I couldn't help but let out a strange noise. I was that surprised by the news of Thomas's marriage. Well, it's a happy occasion anyway. We decided to celebrate it in a big way. At the time, I had no idea what kind of person Thomas's bride-to-be was. A week after hearing about Thomas's marriage, he brought his fiancée over to our house for an introductory meeting.
Long time no see.
You don't even call. Have you been well?
Yay, I've been good.
Well, that's bad. I shouldn't have said that, seeing him after such a long time. But more importantly, the woman Thomas brought was stunningly beautiful. She looks like a model and has a well-defined face. Nice to meet you. I'm Maria, Thomas's mother.
I'm Sam, Thomas's father. Nice to meet you.
Both of us were incredibly nervous. Especially Sam, who was so tense he was speaking in a faint voice, unlike his usual demeanor at his work.
Why are you nervous? You look ridiculous.
Huh. I couldn't hear it clearly, but did she just call us ridiculous? That can't be right. I must have misunderstood. It's our first meeting, and we're here today to see each other, so...
Hey, don't say things like that.
It's fine, isn't it? I'm only speaking the truth.
Just quickly introduce yourself.
Thomas and his girlfriend were whispering to each other, but I could hear everything. Luckily, Sam didn't seem to notice. Is Thomas really okay marrying someone so lacking in common sense?
I'm Jessica. Nice to meet you, too.
Her dismissive attitude almost made me angry, but I focused on keeping my cool. If I got angry now, it might ruin Thomas's engagement. Thinking that helped me get through this situation. I didn't like her attitude, but other than that, there were no issues, and the introductory meeting ended without further problems. 2 months later, Thomas and Jessica got married. From what Thomas told me, they were living in an apartment near our house. I wonder if they are okay.
What do you mean?
I'm concerned about Jessica.
Jessica? She seems like a good girl. Anyway, they must be getting along fine. Besides, they live nearby. So why don't we invite them over for dinner sometimes?
Well, I see.
It's fine. They're our family after all.
Well, I guess. I wondered if Sam hadn't noticed her attitude. Maybe I was just overthinking it. Deciding to go along with Sam's suggestion, we began inviting Thomas and Jessica over for dinner regularly.
I'm sorry for always asking, but don't you have something a bit more luxurious? You are wealthy, right?
Come on, don't say that. The food Maria makes is quite delicious, right?
Jessica always complained every time she came over. If she had so many complaints, she shouldn't come at all. That's what I always thought while serving the meals. I hoped that someday Thomas would reprimand her, but there was no sign of that happening. Why do I have to feel uncomfortable in my own home? Gradually, I began to dread the visits of Thomas and Jessica. After about 6 months of this, one day, they showed up at our house and announced,
We're here, open up.
"Here they come again. I'll just feed them and then they can leave quickly." Okay, I'll open the door now. As I was about to let Thomas and Jessica into the house, I saw Jessica's parents standing behind them. Why did they come? I hadn't heard they were coming today. As I stood there stunned, Jessica spoke up.
Come on, Mom and Dad, don't hesitate to come in.
Wait, what is she doing? Before I could protest, Jessica's parents had already entered the house following her lead. What's happening? This is all too sudden. I can't keep up. But it seems Sam was just as confused.
Jessica's parents. What's going on here?
That was the natural reaction. I was incredibly surprised, too.
Sorry for coming suddenly. Jessica told us you'd been taking good care of her, and we wanted to greet you. Plus, Jessica said she wants us to live in this house. It's such a beautiful and grand apartment. Living here must be like a dream.
What is this person talking about? They're going to live in this high-rise apartment we're living in. Did Jessica tell them that? That's just ridiculous. I couldn't help but step in between them. Excuse me, did your daughter really tell you to live here?
Yes, she did. Right, Doris?
That's what I heard too.
Like daughter, like parents. Even if their child says something like that, it's no reason to just show up unannounced. Clearly, they're a family that has never learned common decency. As I was dumbfounded, Jessica spoke up.
So, my parents will live in this high-rise apartment and others must leave.
What, leave? Others? Suddenly being told by Jessica to leave, I couldn't grasp what was happening. Leave, but this is our house.
Come on, why don't you get it? I've been saying my parents will live here.
No, I mean, no matter how many times she says it, it still makes no sense. I do consider Jessica, my daughter-in-law, to be my family. But that doesn't mean I can just hand over our home. After all the trouble we've gone through every time they've shown up uninvited, it feels like a betrayal. As I was taken aback by Jessica's statement, Thomas continued.
Come on, it's not a big deal. David and Doris like this house. Why don't Mom and Dad live somewhere else?
I never imagined my own son would say such a thing. I thought I had raised him well, but he apparently didn't feel respect for his parents. At that point, I just didn't care anymore and told Thomas and Jessica. So that's how it is. All right, then, I'll gladly leave.
Hey, what are you saying? If you do that,
Sam whispered to me, looking worried. Of course, I would not just sit back and do nothing. Never mind, just do as I say for now. When I responded, Sam quietly muttered, "Okay."
Finally, you understand. I'm so glad.
Now, this house is practically ours. David and Doris, feel free to live here.
Thomas and Jessica hugged each other, delighted. I see. They wanted us out not for their parents' sake, but because they eventually wanted the house for themselves. Seeing them so happy made me both dumbfounded and furious. They can enjoy this only for now.
Today, we just came to talk about this. We'll be moving here the day after tomorrow.
Saying that, they all left with smiles on their faces. They must be joking. There's no way I'll let them do whatever they want. I won't let them have their way. As they walked away, I resolved to bring them down. That night, Sam called me.
about what happened this afternoon. What was that about? Saying we'd give up this house so easily. What are we going to do about where we live?
Of course, I knew he would say something like this. I'm not so naive as to stay silent while being pushed around. I admit it was wrong of me to say that on my own, but you saw how Thomas was trying to push us out, right? After all the care we've taken of him, to be treated this way isn't right. I think it is about time I show him what happens when you insult people.
Well, I sensed their attitude was off. But what are you planning to do?
It's simple. Let's sell this house tomorrow.
Seriously.
Once we sell this house, we're no longer the owners, right? They can't just move in on their own. Then, we'll use the money from the sale to move somewhere even better.
I see. You really do come up with bold ideas.
If we don't do something like they will never learn, I'll make sure they regret angering me. Then we began packing our belongings. We've never been much for possessions, so we quickly finished packing our belongings into just 3 boxes each. Phew, that should do it.
So, what's next?
Let's continue tomorrow. It was late at night, and no real estate agents were open. We decided to go to sell the house the next day, and went to sleep in our tidy room. The next day, we rushed to a real estate agency near the local station early in the morning. Our high-rise apartment was in a great location with excellent sunlight, and the agent told us it could sell for a high price. Then, let's sell it. You agree, right?
Yeah, no choice.
So, Sam signed the sales contract, and we completed the sale of the house. In the spur of the moment, we were drawn to the interior of what could only be described as a mansion, and signed a contract on impulse. I wonder what they would think if they saw our new house. Later, we had a few friends of Sam who were involved in his business come over to help us clear out the remaining items that day. However, we couldn't move into our new place yet. For the time being, we decided to store our things in Sam's company warehouse. Should we just go to a hotel for now?
Sounds good.
So, we stayed in a hotel that night. I couldn't help but smirk, thinking of how Jessica must be excitedly preparing to move in. I was looking forward to what they would say tomorrow. The next morning came, and I was woken up by a phone call. It was Thomas.
Hey, I just got to the house, but no one's answering. You're there, right? Open up.
He really did come. Of course. They must have thought they could move in. What are you talking about? There's no one there.
What? Don't mess with me. Where did you go? Come back quickly. David and Doris are waiting too.
That's not my problem. Who said anything about giving the house away? Hearing Thomas's panicked voice, I couldn't help but chuckle. In the next moment, Thomas yelled at me.
What are you laughing at, you old hag? I'm telling you to come back home.
Old hag, that's quite the way to talk to your mom. I have no intention of coming back.
What the heck? Hey, wait a minute.
Thomas seemed like he wanted to say more, but I unilaterally hung up the phone. After that, he kept calling persistently, but I ignored all the calls. We'll tell them everything once we're done moving, so just wait quietly. Thinking this, we turned off our cell phones. A week later, Sam received a call from the real estate agent. It seems we can now move into our new home.
Finally, we can escape hotel life.
It was surprisingly quick, wasn't it? Shall we go right away? We headed to our new home immediately after receiving the call. As soon as we entered the room, we were amazed. This place looks just like a luxury resort hotel room.
Really, it's incredible.
We had seen photos of the interior at the real estate office, but the real thing far exceeded our expectations. Our previous home was also quite splendid, but this was incomparably luxurious, and we were overwhelmed. Phew, is that all the luggage?
Yeah, I'll make sure to properly thank our friends.
Please do. After our friends had brought in the belongings left at Sam's company, I remembered Thomas. When I turned my cell phone back on, there were numerous missed calls and messages. Well, it's about time. Hey, I know we just moved, but can we invite Thomas and the others?
Seriously, I thought you moved because you were fed up with them.
That's exactly why. After telling Sam that, I called Thomas. He picked up after just one ring. He must have been waiting for the connection.
Hey, you have been turning off your phone for a long time. Where are you now?
Why are you so angry? I'm at our new house now.
What?
I'll send you the location now. Come over. After hanging up, I sent Thomas the location via message. Within 30 minutes, our home's doorbell rang. They're already here. Who is it?
We're here. Let us in quick.
Through the monitor, I could see Thomas, red-faced and breathing heavily. Jessica was with him. All right, come on in. After I unlocked the lobby's auto lock, it took about 5 minutes before the doorbell rang again. Dave arrived. It's finally time for some revenge. Please, come in. As I let Thomas and Jessica into the house, including Jessica's parents, all 4 of them were agape.
What is this house? Looks like a hotel.
It's too incredible.
Both were astonished by the luxurious interior. I sat back on the sofa and addressed them. What brings you here, I wonder?
Yay, that's right. Get us in that house.
Yes, Maria, we were inconvenienced without you. Let us live in that house quickly. It's pitiful for my parents.
Both of them seemed quite desperate. Seeing their state, I couldn't stop laughing. What are you two rambling about?
What do you mean?
You really thought you could live in that house?
But you said you were moving out.
Yes, I did say I was moving out, but who said I was giving you the house? I stared at them coldly, a complete shift from my previous smile. Yet, they still didn't understand. You still don't get it. Neither you nor we can live in that house. It was only then that Thomas seemed to realize.
Could it be?
What, Thomas, you understand? What is it?
Jessica, let me explain since you don't get it. We sold that house, so neither we nor you can live there.
Jesus, then what are we supposed to do? We've already canceled our apartment lease.
What a foolish daughter-in-law. Giving up their residence without any confirmation. And to think they misunderstood that they were getting the house shows a real problem in their thinking. It's not my problem. You did that on your own. Besides, I never liked your disrespectful attitude towards us. If you had shown us any respect, I might have considered leaving you the house in the future, but unfortunately, no.
But can we stay here just for a while?
Please, Mom.
Thomas and Jessica were both pleading. Of course, I had no intention of letting them stay. As I ignored them, Jessica's father spoke up.
I always thought something was off. I'm sorry for getting carried away back then. What Jessica said was a lie, right? We really inconvenienced you. We'll leave now.
Her parents seemed to have had an inkling that suddenly living in a high-rise apartment wasn't possible. After apologizing, Jessica's parents prepared to leave. Seeing this, Jessica shouted,
Don't go back on your own. We're desperately asking here.
The next moment, a strong slap landed on Jessica.
You idiot. Are you trying to embarrass us further? Don't mess around. We're leaving, I said.
Wow, that looked painful. Jessica was struck so hard she nearly flew backward. Then her father grabbed her by the scruff like a rag and dragged her away. So, what will you do now? Jessica has been taken away. Staying here will definitely not make us live together, and I won't allow you to either. Also, even if we pass away, this house will not be inherited by you, nor will you get any inheritance, so be prepared.
Dad, Mom, I'm sorry.
After apologizing to us, Thomas hurriedly chased after Jessica. Phew, I'm exhausted.
Maria, you're terrifying when you're angry.
I had never shown such anger to Sam before. It must have been clearly visible on my face. That's how much Thomas and Jessica had irritated me. Well, I think they understood well now. You shouldn't treat anyone with disrespect. A year later, Thomas came to our house. What's up?
Actually, I got divorced.
Thomas spoke seriously, and I felt a bit of sympathy for him. No matter how harshly he was treated, I am still his mother, and I can't help but feel sorry for him. So, why did you get divorced?
Well, Jessica was disowned by her parents, and she's always been a bit reckless with money, but it got even worse. Eating out every day, buying loads of designer brands goods on weekends. I tried to warn her that this wasn't sustainable, but it was out of control. We ended up using all our savings, and I just couldn't handle it anymore, so I decided to divorce. She approached me because she knew my family was wealthy, thinking marriage would change her. It was foolish of me to assume that, and I'm sorry for the trouble I caused you.
I see. No wonder she was so rude to us from the first time we met. It turns out she didn't care about Thomas at all. She was just after Sam's inheritance. I'm glad Thomas realized it sooner rather than later. If he had kept up the relationship, things would probably have gotten even worse. It sounds like you went through a lot, Thomas. By the way, what's Jessica doing now?
She's living in a cheap apartment and working at a bar at night. She sometimes asks me to come to the bar, but there's no way I'm going.
It seems she couldn't let go of her lavish lifestyle and ended up working nights. All the more reason it's good that their relationship ended. I feel sorry for Thomas, but deep down, I'm relieved. I once thought I'd never live with him again, but since his divorce, Thomas has been visiting our home about once every 2 months. I asked if he wanted to live together, but he declined. He didn't say why, but I think he's reflecting on his past actions. I will cherish our occasional family get-togethers from now on.